Hey everybody, it's Mike Young from TriangleGrapevine.org, and I am joined today with Chris Lukasina, who is the Executive Director of CAMPO, an organization you may not even know exists. It's CAMPO is the Capital Area um, Metropolitan Planning Organization. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, now so there was a big release you had yesterday on April 10th about the corridor, which is actually behind me on my left, which is Capitol Boulevard from 540 up to the Franklin County line, because that's something that your organization has been studying, I think, since about 2001. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Well, the news yesterday was that you've announced, like a lot of people have seen, that there's been a delay and there's been cost increases that have been exponentially, I think, in a way. And because of that, you're exploring alternatives, which is the alternative I think on the table now is a toll road, sort of like the Triangle Expressway. Is that right?
That is one of the options we're looking at, yes.
Okay, so it's not been determined, and I think at this point in time you're looking for public feedback. Is that correct?
Yeah, so originally this started as being identified as the US 1 corridor north of I-540 as needing improvements to meet the demands it already had on it in the late 90s, early 2000s as growth exploded in Wake County, especially in northern Wake County.
Yeah.
And Over time, the forecast for that future growth put even more pressure on that corridor. So we've known since the early 2000s that this was a corridor identified to be converted and improved to a full freeway type of facility, almost like an interstate, but not officially an interstate.
Yeah.
And um, have been working with the local governments in the region, that's who make up CAMPO, and the state to try and fund it. And just very simply, that planning at the corridor level really kicked into high gear in the early 2000s. In 2006, there was a corridor study that had been completed for US 1 North, again from I-540 up to Wake Forest, a little bit north of that. It was then expanded all the way further into Franklin County as well a few years later. In 2012, um, it was the first time we were able to secure funding for the corridor through the State Transportation Improvement Program, or the funding program that exists that fund big transportation projects.
Hmm.
Um, and it was originally scheduled for construction to begin in 2018. If that had happened, it would be open for business by now,
My
right?
gosh.
We'd
Yeah.
be driving up there on the improved roadway.
Yeah.
In 2016, we had what turned out to be the first round of project funding delays. And updated cost estimates. As time goes on, things cost more money. Road
Yeah.
improvements, transportation improvements do as well.
Yeah.
By this year, by 2025, we've been through 5 rounds of project funding delays and increased cost estimates for the project. So it is not trending the right way; it's trending the wrong way, and that has concerned our decision makers, our elected officials throughout the region. It is an
Right.
extremely important corridor for the region, and for those folks that live along the corridor and live in the corridor. So we were asked by those local decision makers to see what the options were to try and implement those improvements sooner rather than later.
Right. Right. Okay. Very good. Well, from me going over the numbers from what you released yesterday, it seemed like this original project was under 100 million, I think, initially, but now it's around 1.5 billion or greater. Is that the kind of cost we're looking at now?
Yeah, it has topped $1 billion in its latest cost estimate. I'll also point out, between 2012 and 2016, um, the length of the corridor got a little bit longer,
Right.
but the vast majority of the cost increases were not because the scope expanded. It's because things cost more money and inflation has kicked in. But yes, it is the latest estimates are north of $1 billion.
Wow. Okay. Let me ask you about that scope because what I looked at on that timeline that you released, it seemed like in 2012, before 2012, we were just talking about 540 up to the Franklin County line. And then what I seem to remember reading was that during the 2012 review, it was extended all the way to the Franklin County Vance line. Is that correct?
So that was our study of our corridor study. That's where we go in and we work with the local jurisdictions, with the public to determine what are the deficiencies and what are our best options to address those. The actual funding. So in 2012, that was also when the funding for the first portions of the project were identified and programmed
Hmm.
or planned for the future. Between 2012 and 2016, there were project delays, but there was also, what was actually funded, the length of the project that was actually funded, the portion of the corridor that had received funding for construction increased a little bit.
Right.
But that pretty much steadied off after 2016, 2018 timeframe, and since then, the corridor is divided up into four sections labeled A, B, C, and D.
Hmm.
And so since that time, we've been looking at, options of funding the first three, A, B, and C sections, or all four, A through D. Either way you look at it, significant cost increases pretty much every 2 to 4 years have been occurring since 2016.
Okay. Okay. So to clarify, this four part project, or up to four parts simultaneously, is the entire length from 540 to the Franklin County line, or just before that. That's what we're zeroing in
That
on.
is correct. It does not go in. It does not go into Franklin County. It stops at the Franklin County line.
But however, from your organization, are you looking at? I know it's not being talked about now, but are you also considering all the way to Vance County line? Because I did see that mention. I know it's not now, but for future planning, is that looked at as
Yes, absolutely correct. So we, in 2012-13 timeframe, we looked at the corridor, identified that growth was continuing to move north, and what was, much more of a rural area in Franklin County was beginning to see the growth that, say, Wake Forest had started to see in the early 2000s.
yeah?
So we extended the planning area for that corridor through Franklin County to begin to try to get ahead of that a little bit. Unfortunately, the funding that's available isn't keeping up with our
Right.
solutions for the problems that are
Yeah.
out
Okay. I also want to mention something. You are not talking about the area of Capitol Boulevard between 440 and 540. That area is not in this project. Is that correct?
there. That is correct. That is south of the portion that we're asking the public for input on.
Okay. And now some of the options that you're looking at is you're looking at either that entire length of 540 to the Franklin County line or just before it, or one of the four sections, or two of the sections, or three of the sections, or however it sounds like the input and the funding is brought. And I also want to let people know it's not only just that length in that corridor between 540 and Franklin County, but it also is the type of road, right? Because it could either be I guess, a traditional freeway where it is free, or a toll road like the Triangle Expressway, or a combination, right? You could have a toll road in the middle parts and a freeway on the outsides. It could be any of those combinations. Is that right?
Yeah, all right. Just want to clarify a couple of things.
Sure.
So, the solution of converting this corridor to a freeway, interstate style road, that has been identified. That's not the part that's in question. The
Right.
ability to have the funding to implement that and the delays that keep happening to that funding have brought us to the point where we're considering tolling as a way to implement that much sooner than we could otherwise do so. So this is not a situation where we're saying, "Oh, we have this road we want to build, and we're thinking about tolling it or not."
Mhm.
This is not tolling was not the first option here.
Right.
Tolling is where we've arrived because of significant project delays and what are projected to be continuing project delays through traditional funding sources.
Okay, that makes total sense. Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I mean, you're kind of at your wit's end because everyone wants this done yesterday. But even if you determine now, today, what's going on, or within the next year, it's still going to be beyond 2030. Isn't that right? When the project is actually completed. And that's if the decisions happen soon. So we really need to get a decision made, right?
That is, I think, exactly what's driving um, the urgency at this point to make a decision.
Hmm.
Because what we're seeing is that, a couple of months today result in years down the road,
Yeah,
right? So that is where I think if there seems like there's a sense of urgency to make a decision all of a sudden, that is not what's been going on. This has been a issue for 10 years or more in
yeah.
trying to get this project across the finish line, so to
I
speak.
get it. Oh,
Really
I get it.
get it across the starting line in order to get to the finish line.
I mean, I've been up traveling that road up and down since about 2007, and I remember hearing the news. Oh, it's going to be limited access, and I was like, okay, when? So I get it. I mean, yeah, we really do. It needs to have been decided a while ago, and yes, there is a absolutely warranted a sense of urgency here. And so, What's up for discussion now? I mean, what are these four? There's four different options you have on your website, and I'm going to have links down below. People can click on that. There's a survey people can fill out. Is this important to determine the path that you're going to take?
Yeah, I think it really is. The mayors along the corridor, the council members, the county commissioners, I think they really are interested in hearing what the public thinks about this as an option. I think it's fair to say no one's first choice is to toll a road.
Hmm.
We had a very similar situation in the 1990s and early 2000s on NC 540, the southern portion of the 540 loop around our region. It was originally not a toll facility. And in the early 2000s, the determination was made that there'd be at least 20 more years of delay before you could start construction on the majority of that corridor.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, the decision makers that 20 plus years ago said that is too long. We need to do something else, and that is how we ended up with a tolled NC 540,
Hmm.
which will ultimately be completed and open about 2 years before the time frame when they were telling us back then that it would actually start
That
construction. So 2028, 2029 time frame.
that's great.
Um,
That's great.
so, I think that there really is a feeling that they don't want to have deja vu all over again
Uh-huh.
on an extremely important corridor for the region.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know that it's a foregone conclusion. They certainly want to hear from folks. And again, this isn't, I think, questions of, well, do you want a toll road or not? It's really more about, tolling is an option that will hopefully provide us more surety and confidence that the project will be delivered
Hmm.
um, uh, sooner rather than an indeterminate time into the future.
Yeah, that sounds good to most everybody's ears out there, I think. Now, let me ask a little detailed question on that toll option. I think I remember seeing something in what you released saying that the way the toll road would work is that it will speed up the whole process, like you say, and then once this is paid off, and at some point in the future, they will remove the tolls. Is that what I read?
That's correct. So current North Carolina state law requires that once the facility has been paid for, the tolls are removed.
Okay. Well, so it's a temporary toll then, I suppose.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
not a permanent one. Okay. Well, and it's obviously serving a function, which is delivering that increased and better lifestyle to everyone, at a very rapid rate. So I think that sounds attractive. It does. Yeah. I mean, I just would love to see that road, improved in the way that you're envisioning. So thank you so much for joining us and discussing that. And like I said to everybody out there watching, I'm going to put the links down below with the press release, the CAMPO website, and also the survey that you can take so that you can get your input. And what's the deadline? How soon do you want people to respond to the survey?
Uh, so we have sort of an engagement time frame running out. I think the survey officially closes on May 14th.
May 14th. Okay.
So you've got well over a month to be able to take the survey, tell your friends and your neighbors about it, your coworkers. We are very interested to hear what folks are think about this, and also that survey website I think gives a good overview of the history of the project and the challenges that it has faced. We also have a couple of engagement sessions coming up for the public.
All right.
One on April 30th, that'll be in Wake Forest at the Renaissance Center, and then one on May 5th, that'll be at the Abbots Creek Community Center in Raleigh. just off of 540, I believe. So two other great opportunities to be able to come and engage with the project team and learn a little bit more about the project and provide some input.
Okay, well, thank you, Chris Lukasina, Executive Director of CAMPO. Thanks for your hard work. And of course, the Triangle region is one of the busiest, fastest growing areas of the country. It's one of the most attractive areas. We still have plenty of people moving in. So thanks for, your hard work and keeping it such a great place to live.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you're welcome.